All right, everybody, welcome back to Stories from a Mountain Town podcast. This is your host, Tyler Meany, and today with me I have none other than Joe Osterbauer. Joe, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you.
So Joe is when I say longtime friend, I really mean it with Joe. I've literally known him since he was born. His dad and my dad have been best friends since like elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
So him and his siblings and me and my siblings have basically been closer than a lot of my cousins are throughout the years, going to the cabin, coming to Jackson, all the stuff.
Yeah, you guys are like a second family to me.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And so Joe is out here spending some time hanging out. He just graduated from college at the University of Minnesota Duluth. So congrats to that, Joe.
Thanks.
So with that, we will get into our Earned It Hazy IPA from Snake
That's
River
right.
Brewing.
Yep.
Shown to the camera. This is Joe's. This is your favorite of the Snake Rivers you've had, right?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And my can, if you're looking in the camera, it's a little dented up because when we went to pick it up, we did a little tour de Jackson on the bikes, just hopping around to some spots to get drinks, and grabbed a 6-pack for the podcast when we were at the brewery, and it when a couple of these fell off the bike, we were hauling them in. So mine's a little dented. So let's see how fizzy this gets. I'm gonna do it away from from all the devices.
This
might explode. No, we're good.
All right, we're good.
It must have had a little crack in it before. All right, we're good. Joe?
All right, mine's good too. Oh, foam. Just a little foam on the top.
Little foam. That happens at altitude. So I got a request from our server today to talk about how all the stickers or all the labels on the cans now are stickers. So I'm going to take this off. We talked about this before on the pod, but I just thought we should bring it up again. It's a
Yeah, I'm gonna take mine off too.
so all of them are local artists. Oh, mine's all fucked up because of the dented. So they're all local artists, and then mine's not coming off. There we go. So what does it show on the back, Joe? It shows like a map of the Snake River.
Yeah, so on the can itself, we have the Snake River logo.
Yeah.
And then it shows kind of a map of Wyoming, and it kind of shows how the Snake River kind of snakes through the whole state, and it shows kind of some of the major cities here on the can.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, the Snake, I think it starts up in like Jackson Lake or up in the park, in the national park here. And it flows through Jackson and then goes into Idaho and goes through like Twin Falls, Idaho, Pocatello, Idaho.
Mm-hmm.
And then it goes over to the Columbia River. I don't know where it picks that up but then that flows in through Portland and then into the ocean.
Yeah, now that I'm looking at the can a little closer, it looks like it's kind of like a tilted map, but it shows just the border of Wyoming, kind of the start of the river, and then it shows Jackson, and then how it kind of goes into Idaho, and then kind of does like a U through it.
Yeah. So we're on the continental or near the Continental Divide. So like when you drove in through Togety Pass, that's what the Continental Divide is. So everything west of that pass flows to the Pacific, and everything east of it flows to either the Gulf of Mexico or the Atlantic Ocean, which is kind of the Atlantic Ocean all. So, but yeah, little geography lesson for you guys today.
And you said that the label can be a sticker?
Yeah, you can like tear off these side pieces.
I see.
And then just the middle, the cool label part is
so you
the
can
sticker.
Like, kind of take off the part where it has the ingredients, and then
and their awards.
Here, so then
2-time, what does it say? 2-time Small Brewer of the Year, Great American Beer Fest.
So now you just got kind of the front facing logo.
I think the camera turned off. Hold on one sec. Keep talking.
Yeah. So this is a cool logo. It looks like it's kind of got a nice fade. It's a hiker hiking up the mountain with a dog. Kind of what Tyler does here. And it looks like he's got some skis, so I'm sure he'll be skiing down the mountain once he gets to the top.
All right. We got no camera for today. That's fine.
Okay, that's fine. But this is the Earned It Hazy IPA, and yes, this was the few I've had. This is my most favorite one.
For sure, Joe. Tell the people about yourself a little bit.
So I'm from Minnesota. the Twin Cities, just North Minneapolis area. I grew up in Arden Hills with my family and an older brother and older sister. And I went to University of Minnesota Duluth, which is kind of the most it's like a northern port town. You know, if you can picture like Lake Superior, it's kind of like the point where it kind of comes down into Minnesota. There's a little port city there, and I went to school there for the last 4 years, and I was living there for a while, and I graduated this spring, and
what degree do you have?
so I got a degree in marketing. I majored in marketing with a focus in sales, and then I also got a minor in communication as well. So I hope to kind of go into a sales, business and sales field with that. But it's been kind of bittersweet living Duluth. You know, it's a smaller town than what I'm used to living up in. So I was kind of always eager to kind of get back to the Twin Cities once I graduated. But once it kind of get to the end of the line and it was actually time to move back, I was very sad because I'm really gonna miss Duluth. It was a great town to live in, and I'm gonna be sad because a couple of my roommates are still living up there, and as fun as it is to kind of get back into the cities and kind of start the next chapter in my life, I'm gonna miss it a lot because there's a lot of good memories living up there, and it was a very fun town to live in. There was lots to do outside of just school and living and working.
I missed Duluth too. That's a good point about the other stuff to do. When I was picking colleges, I didn't want to go somewhere like for football and end up in a shitty town with nothing to do but just drinking and football. I wanted I knew that there could be potential for football not working out or an injury or something of that sort, and I just wanted to have things to be able to do outside of that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And Duluth has everything. Whether for me, it's the wintry activities, just hiking or being in the snow and snowboarding at Spirit, and then being it's like 50 minutes from our cabin.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of just like random Mondays or like random days where I just head over to the cabin and hang out for a little bit because it was just like a fun thing to do. So Duluth is amazing. If anybody is listening that hasn't been to Duluth and likes kind of the outdoorsy vibe, this town is everything. It's like it has a ton of breweries, mountain bike trails, hiking trails. You can go down to the lake. You can rent boats. You can go. It has the longest. What do they say? Park Point is. It's like the longest natural sandbar in the world, or some shit.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Or like one of the longest. Yeah, it's wild.
And the nice thing about Duluth, it is a tourist town mainly. Like in the summertime, every weekend's usually down at Canal Park. That's kind of like the hot spot for tourism, and it's kind of right down. It's right on the lake, and that's kind of where that's where the lift bridge is, and that's kind of one of the Duluth signatures is that lift bridge.
Yeah.
That's kind of if you've seen any kind of logo or anything having to do with Duluth, it usually has that lift bridge in it, and you can get a good view of that. And it's really cool. You can go right down by the lake, and there's a ton of shipping boats that come in and out. It's a huge port city, so I know you see boats coming in from all around the world, and they make their way through the Great Lakes, and then they come into Duluth, and you can see the lift bridge go up and down all day long, and it's not just big boats like that come through, but there's a big sailboat club up there as well. So you once a day a week, I'm not sure what day it is, but they have like a big sailboat club meeting, and you can see them out all in the bay, and it's kind of cool to see them.
It's more like an ocean port town than really a lake town, because I mean Lake Superior, I don't know the numbers, but it's the largest lake in the world, and the ships on there do come from the ocean, do come from everywhere in the world, and go everywhere in the world.
You see a bunch of them that say China on them.
Yeah, Chinese language, like Europe, like everywhere.
All the way around the world.
Yeah, so it's actually like directly connected to the ocean, so it really would feel more like an ocean port town than it would if you heard the word lake.
Yeah, absolutely, and exactly, it is a lake, but it's so big that it acts like no other lake. It kind of has like an ocean aspects to it because it's so big, And
Yes, so it's always just a little bit colder near the lake. It's got lake effect snow, like you probably heard about with the Great Lakes. You can surf on it. There's not a tide. I don't think there's not like a tide like the ocean, but there's depending on the direction of the wind, there kind of is a tide. Like if the wind is blowing like into Park Point, it'll be like high tide and like high waves and stuff. But if it's blowing out, then it's like really calm. Like there's actually days where it's like glass out there, which is surprising, you'd think.
Yep, it really changes. It really changes throughout the throughout the week. Some days it'll be like totally calm, and even if you're not going to the lake, a lot of the roads around Duluth, you can get a clear view of the lake, so you can kind of get an idea of like what's going on. And some days there'll be white caps going all over the bay, and you do not want to be out there on a boat. You gotta be very brave. But there's other days where it's totally calm. One kind of funny thing about Duluth is when I was living up there this springtime, it was like a beautiful day. It'd be like 75 degrees, and we'd be up by our house, kind of up more on lakeside, away from the lake. And it was like, all right, 75 degrees. It's a great day. Let's go to the beach. It's great weather.
It's raining at the beach.
And then we would all get in the car all happy, and then we'd drive down to the lake, and we would get down to the beach, and it's like a 20-degree difference. We'd get down to the beach, and it's like 50, 55 degrees, and we're all sitting on the beach in our t-shirts, and we're like, oh, we're having a good time out here, even though we're kind of cold. But yeah, the lake has a big effect on the weather. It being out here in Jackson, it'll be about 50, 55 degrees in the morning and the evening, but during the day it could be up to 70. So you kind of have like that fluctuation of temperature and weather throughout the day. But the Great Lakes, they do a good job of kind of keeping the intensity or the peaks, and they kind of regulate the temperature a lot more. So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
But it's insanely variable weather. Like when I would play football in the fall, we would have practices where we would range from sunny to raining to snowing to foggy in 1-2 hour practice. And we'd see everything, and we're just like, what else is there? We just went through all 4 seasons in 2 hours.
Yep, there's definitely been days where it's it starts out, it's cloudless skies, and it's nice and sunny and warm, and then the clouds roll in, and then it starts to rain, and then it gets a little chilly, and then it starts to there's even been days where it starts to snow, and you're like, wow, it was beautiful and sunny 4 hours ago, and now it's snowing.
And just frigid cold. In my sophomore year in Duluth, there was like 35 days in a row of below zero. And it went like far below zero most of the days. So we would get towards the end of it, when it started to warm up back up again, we'd get to like 0 degrees or like +1, +2, and we're like out snowboarding, being like, wow, this is balmy. And it's just like so fucked up how the human body can adapt to that cold and just come back and be like, nah, we're good at like we're good at like +1 now.
It's definitely a city where you want to have like a change of clothes in your car or wherever you're going. Like you could walk out of your house in a sweatshirt or in a t-shirt and shorts, but like you want to make sure you have like a sweater or like some kind of jacket just in case wherever you're going, it's because it could be cold.
Yeah. Okay. I think the camera is being weird. I'm going to try to see if we can figure this out again. Okay. Joe, can you talk about why did you pick Duluth? What about Duluth attracted you, and what about the school attracted you?
Definitely, yeah. So, we had a family friend that Vince. He lived in Duluth for a while, and when I was younger, we would always take trips up to Duluth for Grandma's Marathon. That's one of the big events that go on up in Duluth. A big marathon that runs all the way, kind of from like Two Harbors area all the way through like all the way down the North Shore. You got a nice view. It's like a nice scenic highway that the marathon runs on. So we'd always go up there for there. And our family friend had a house right on on one of the mile markers, and we would always sit out there. And watch the runners run by. And he was an artist, so he would sell art and to people that are running by, and he would offer the he'd always have like a cooler full of beer. So if there was like a runner that was just kind of more casual and just wanted to like take a break and have a beer, then we'd kind of just sit there and have a beer with them and kind of just chit chat. But that was kind of the first times I would go to Duluth, and you know, it was it's about 2 hours. It's like exactly 2 hours away from my house down in the city. So it's you know, it's far enough away where I can kind of have my own space, but it's close enough where if I need to run home for a weekend or even a day, it's not that big of a deal just to run home. But
it's a really good distance away. I liked that too when I went there. The listeners, I went to a school that's just a mile down the road from where Joe went. He went to the big university in the town, and I went to the small private school.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt the same exact way, where it was like I said, we could go to the cabin on a random night, go home for stuff if you needed it, or like it wasn't that big of a deal for Chuck to like come up to, or either my parents to come up to watch a football game. So it's like that. It's kind of that perfect distance away.
Mm-hmm.
If you like Minnesota, it's that perfect distance away.
Yep, and I had a couple cousins that went to Duluth, so whenever I would go home, or whenever we kind of get together as a family, you know, they would always kind of preach, you know, UMD, and so that kind of gave me a little inkling. And I toured a couple different schools in Duluth or in Wisconsin. I toured like Stout, like University of Minnesota or University of Wisconsin Stout and Eau Claire, and they were okay, you know. But when I toured UMD, it really blew them out of the water. Like it was just so much better, really. Like one nice thing about UMD is that it's like I kind of think of it as like it's a one big building where every single classroom and building is connected to each other. So during the winter time, when I was a freshman living in the dorms, I would wear a t-shirt to class I would wear a t-shirt to class because I never had to go outside for anything. And there was and they're not like, and the buildings aren't connected by like tunnels, but they're just like so close to each other that you walk down a hallway and you could be in the science building, but if you keep walking down the hallway, you get into like the liberal arts school, or keep walking and you're in the engineering or business school. So it's, you don't really have to deal with walking like in the wintertime, because it's Duluth in the wintertime. So it gets, we got winter from like November to
April
to like April. Yeah. And it's cold and snowy outside. So like really the only time you're outside during the day is when you're going to and from your house. So that's a big benefit, is you can, you don't have to worry about hopping from building to building outside. It's all connected. So I guess that was kind of the main reason, is it was just all the schools I toured. It was the best one out of all of them. And I had some cousins that have went there, so it was kind of, they kind of hyped it as well.
Yeah.
So it was the best school I toured, so that's why I went there. And it was pretty affordable as far as school goes.
For sure. And didn't you go in with like a plan to have get like an engineering degree or something? Yeah.
So right out of high school, I had this idea that I wanted to be like an engineer. And really what I wanted to do was like work with my hands and work on cars. Really was kind of what I wanted to do. And I took like the intro to engineering class, and the kind of vibe I was getting from the engineering program was like, all right, it's a lot of math, but you're going to doing a lot of your, it's a lot of math and science, and you do all your modeling and everything on the computer. And I think that was kind of like that was the point where I realized that I don't want to be an engineer, as it was a lot of like complex modeling on a computer. And knowing myself I think that was just a little more, it was a little more technical than I really wanted to be. So I remember I went to the professor, and I was like, hey, I'm kind of looking to do something more where I can just kind of talk to a few people and kind of get work done that way. I'd use my communication skills more for my job versus like sticking my head in a notebook and doing calculations and spitting out kind of some blueprints. And my professor was like, oh, well, I mean, you can do that as an engineer, but you got to be an engineer for probably 5-10 years until you get some seniority, and then you can kind of be more of a consultant. And I was like, okay, but there's got to be another way to do it. So that's kind of when I switched to business. And when I was a business, I chose marketing. It was just because I figured that was kind of a good starting place to start in business. And that's
definitely a good place to start. That's what my degree is in.
Yep. So that's kind of what I went for, and I stuck with it, and that's what I graduated with.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. And I have no regrets because I had a great time in the business school, and I kind of what I was going back to, where it's a lot more your communication skills and being able to talk to people. That's a lot of business, and I felt like it was a good fit for what I was looking for.
Definitely, and depending on I don't know how the advisors work at UMD, but the one I had at Scholastica, he actually he was being a professor as kind of like a pre-retirement job.
Mm-hmm.
He already spent like 40 years in the corporate world, like doing all the stuff that then you teach. And I thought that was very important to what I learned, because there's a lot of teachers who just spend their whole life teaching and not doing what they're teaching. And I thought that set him apart from some of the marketing teachers that I had. Absolutely.
I agree with you. And I had the same experience at UMD, where I'd be in a marketing class, and they'd kind of start the same way, where they'd be like, hey, I've worked for this company doing marketing and sales, and I worked for this company, and I consult for this company, Zara or Cargill, a bunch of these big companies. And it's like, okay, wow, these people actually worked in the field for a while, and they're kind of older, and I've kind of realized that this is exactly what you said. This is kind of just like a pre-retirement job for them, and they've kind of done what they wanted to, but now they get a bigger kick out of helping young adults.
They almost just they're doing it as an effort to give back or something.
Yeah, exactly. And
they probably get paid plenty, but they just I just want to give back to the next generation of marketers or business people.
Yep, exactly. And it's kind of like an easy way, because they have all these expertise, and it's a way for them to, like you said, give back, and it kind of influence the next generation of people. So it was kind of interesting, and that was my favorite part is, and I really liked my sales professors. John Kratz specifically was one of them.
John Kratz, shout out John Kratz.
Shout out to John Kratz from University of Minnesota Duluth. If you ever have a class with him, you'll love it. But they made it fun to go to class, because they would sprinkle in real life moments where they actually used their sales skills or marketing skills, and they had you engaged in class. And I think that's an important thing that some professors don't have, is their ability to hold people's attention, because it's easy to kind of just brush off college classes, because a lot of classes, they don't take attendance, so they don't really care if you go or not.
Especially at a bigger school. What was your average class size?
I would say biggest class was probably 200 people. That was kind of my lower level classes, but when I got into more my marketing specific classes, it's probably 40 to 50.
Yeah, that's not too bad. I think our marketing junior senior year marketing classes were 15 to 30 at the most. And I think the biggest class I had, marketing's not a big degree at Scholastica, so we didn't have a big class. Well, the econ class, freshman year econ classes would be 50 people in a bigger room. But then any of the science degrees, they'd have to take anatomy and biology, those basic science classes, and they'd have 200 people.
Yep, exactly. I think that was chemistry, chemistry 100.
Yeah,
was the biggest classes. But I think that was one thing that I really enjoyed about the UMD, was that, or the marketing specifically, was going to class was fun and engaging, because the professors knew your name, and they would they would kind of do like a live role play with you, like for
Yeah.
sales, or they'd be like, oh, pick up the phone, ring, ring,
Mhm.
hi, I'm John Kratz. I would like to blah, blah, whatever.
Nice.
But it was fun that was a good time.
That's cool. Did you ever have any classes where you would like tour any of the businesses around Duluth? Like we did a sorry, go ahead.
So kind of. So a lot of like our marketing projects, kind of like the overarching project for the semester, we would actually pick a small business in Duluth and communicate with them back and forth a little bit and kind of learn a bit more about their business. And then we would actually like produce like a marketing plan or marketing agenda for them, where we would look at, what kind of customers come through the door, what kind of products they have to offer. And then we would kind of use what we learn in the classroom and actually like develop a marketing plan and like present it to the small business in the city. So one class we picked like a coffee shop, like a local coffee shop, Perk Place, and we would look at our job was to go sit in the class or in their store and look at all the customers that come in and out and see what they buy, see what their age is, how many people are working with, how many people are like how big the groups are, what are they doing in the store? Are they just like coming in and buying coffee and then leaving, or are they actually coming in and sitting down and doing homework, or sitting there chatting with friends, whatever it may be? And then we took all that information and then we would produce a marketing plan for them, where we'd say, okay, looks like all your customers are doing this, so you have to, so we would recommend that you change your advertising or your marketing in such a way where it attracts these customers more.
Is that the one that's like by Super One on Kenwood?
Yep.
Yeah.
Perk Place, right by, kind of right by, closer to Scholastica than UMD, but right by, kind of like right in the strip mall, right by Super One, right there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Yeah, that's a great class. We did the same thing where we did Stokey's Meat Market. You ever been there?
I don't think so.
They have one kind of in Hermantown, and then they had one that was like way down Woodland, like out of Duluth, out of town. But it's just like a butcher shop, meat market type thing. We did the exact same thing where we had the project started where we had like 4 different groups in the class, and there was like a data team, an implementation team, like a leadership team, and then like one other kind of team, and they all had to work together to be like let's build a marketing plan for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was on the leadership team. Actually, Alex and I were on the leadership team, and we just did everything for the entire class because nobody knew what the fuck they were doing, and so we just did it all. And then in another semester, we, instead of doing like a final project, final paper type thing or final test, we just found another client and did the same shit for them, and then got all the points and did a write up for that. But like we were doing the stuff that other people were just writing papers on. And so our teacher said, yeah, like do that and you'll get like the full points.
Cool.
So that was like the coolest thing, because we're like, I've never been motivated by papers or tests, but I was motivated by like doing the actual shit.
And it's a different experience. Like when you're actually like working with a company and like doing it like in a real life situation, you have a different mindset versus, oh, well, I got a paper that's due tomorrow, I guess I'll start it tomorrow night. It's different from studying from a test or doing a paper versus like actually working with a business. Yeah,
the grade never really motivated me, but like real life money motivated me. And I know it has since day one. And so, yeah, and it's really funny that the way things played out is that Alex and I were able to do the stuff that then we turned into a business. Like we were doing digital marketing for small businesses in college, and they were like 2 years after, we were like, wait a minute, there's still a need here. And that's how we started Rolltamini. So we're like, shit, we can do this. We did this in college. And we're like, we're smarter now than we were then. And so it's just funny how, like, if we were in it and someone had told us, you're going to make a business out of this, I'd be like, no, like, I didn't even want to do that then. But I was doing the same shit then. It's just funny how things work out like that.
One kind of funny thing I realized during these kind of projects where being like the first time doing it, I'm like, okay, great. We're gonna help a small business out. We're gonna, they don't have the budget or anything for like a big marketing team or anything, but like our students, we're gonna come in here and do it for free for them, and they're gonna be so grateful. But like
they never are.
But like the reality is like we're not the only kids that have done this. Like there's been like years and years and semesters where students are doing the exact same thing for these businesses. So like kind of what it turns into is like we walk into these businesses thinking like, oh, can we talk to the owner? Like, and we're thinking like they'd be so excited to like, oh, some free marketing business for us, great. But like they've had these same students come in here for semesters or like years.
The same
after
teachers
years.
doing the same thing every single year. Yeah.
Yep. And you could just tell that the owners are just like, oh God, here's another group of students coming in here and like wanting to like work with us, but really they're just suck. There's just a big time suck, and I don't really care what they're doing. And
your teacher walks in and hands them 100 before you guys come in.
Like, I'm thinking they'd be all grateful that we're here to help them out for free, but really like, here's some more students just here wasting our time.
Yeah, especially Park Place, because that's in between the two colleges in the town. So like like they probably get it from both directions. It's like they probably got 4 groups per semester trying to do marketing for them. That's cool though. Yeah, we did another class. It was a logistics class, which didn't really interest me much, but it was like, the details behind how do you get product or supplies from here to there, or like shit like that, and like in timely manner, cost effective manner, stuff like that. So we went and visited the port authority in the harbor. So there's like an authority that manages to make sure everyone's doing the right shit and on time and not smuggling drugs, basically. In the harbor. And what else we got? We went to the AMSOIL's factory. That was super cool to see, because they're a really big company and they're actually just based there. Hey guys, we got some extra guests coming in.
Hello.
What are you doing? Because they were in a backpack and on the back of a bike. I don't know. The podcast's favorite guest, Jeff Moberg, is in the house right now. He was the first guest in the podcast, but he doesn't want to show his face now. They're not coming in. So we went to AMSOIL, and that was super cool because they ship worldwide oil products and lubricants and shit like that, engine stuff. And they're just based out of Superior, and it's super sick. And then we went to the paper mill. Have you ever been there?
I've never been there, but you can't go to Duluth without driving by it.
Yeah, or smelling it. It's a ghost. It's a ghost town. So that paper mill has gone bankrupt and then changed hands. Like it went like 5 times while I was in college, and I was only there for 4 years. Because people are just using less paper.
Right.
In mass. But they now do, or what? Actually, I shouldn't say now. They probably have changed 7 times since I left. When I toured it, they would make like the very, very thin paper that you would print like a magazine or like the coupon sheets for like Cub on, like that shit. And so it was just super cool because you take this, they take this giant roll, like this roll like the size of my house of paper, and then work it all the way down to the size that their client wanted it in, and then they would ship that out into a printing place. But it was just cool to see how raw of a product they get in. That starts it.
And it's funny you mentioned that paper mills, because I've heard since the COVID's going on right now, and that they've actually shut down again recently. So who knows if that's still cooking right now? But I've heard that that's a big part of Duluth's kind of economy. So if that's shut down, then that kind of sucks. But you mentioned AMSOIL, and that kind of brought me back to the teachers at UMD. And another benefit of having teachers that work out in the field is that they still have these connections to people in the business community. So we were able to have guest speakers from AMSOIL come in, and they were able to talk to us about their latest products and how they they think of something that they don't have in their product line, and they're able to kind of walk us through their product or their process of creating a product, and then kind of doing testing, and then marketing of it, and really taking like an idea, something that starts as an idea, and talking to us students about how they change it from just an idea and then actually like make it into a product that is made on an assembly line. So it was really cool to get like a real world examples of what we're learning in the classroom, and being able to put and showing how it's made in real life.
Yeah, that's sick. Did you ever have a class where you had to like design a product and like test a product, and then like basically have like a little expo about the products? Like all the groups in the class would have a little expo, and people could come through and see what you had going on.
Yep. So what we did is that was like our new products classes. We had to think of a product that hasn't, that's a new product, and we had to like think of an idea of how it's going to work, and then we had to make like an online survey, and then send the survey out to whoever would take it, really. And then they would kind of give you feedback of like, oh, this is you'd ask them questions like, so my product was a solar panel that you would attach to the top of an electric car. So like when your electric car is driving down the road and it's sunny outside, this solar panel would be generating power, and then it would just plug right into your battery, so you're kind of like charging your car as you're going. So I had to make like a survey about like, how often do you drive? Have you ever considered buying an electric car? Kind of like blah blah blah. and kind of a sad part of it was like throughout my research, I realized that like people have like thought of doing projects like this, but like it's not, there's not a high enough return on like you're not generating enough electricity to like really make a difference for a product like this. But that was kind of part of the new product idea, where you weren't really judged on your ability to make a new product that was going to be great and a huge hit, but you were able to kind of see how an idea, you can generate an idea, and you kind of go through testing and surveying and seeing if there's actually a market that would buy this kind of product. And it was kind of just interesting to kind of give you an example of how it works in real life.
Yeah, we did the same thing. We didn't do a solar panel. We did Alex and I, again, we're in a group. So Alex is the same major as I do, so we're in the same classes basically all of our 4 years. Alex and I went to school. We met right before kindergarten in baseball and went to school together every single we went to a private school, K through 8, and then chose the same public school for high school, and then chose the same college for college, and we're in the same major in college. So we've gone to school and been in classes.
You guys have been like two peas in a pod.
Yeah, since before kindergarten. But so he was in the group, and we came up with this it was like a how do I say this? Like a date rape drug test kit thing.
Okay.
Where like it was like a little tab, like those hot tub testing water tabs.
Yeah, it's kind of like a piece of paper.
Yeah, with like little squares on it, and like
whatever
you
color
put it
changes
in
it.
Yeah, you'd like what we had it like you put it in the drink, and if it a certain color, it would turn if it had like bad drugs in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a thing now. But like we came up with this, and we like tested it, and we like had made little like fake ass little samples because we didn't really want to pursue it. But more than the outcome of whatever idea you come up with, it's just it puts you in a mindset to actually work through an idea more than just on the surface level of just like, hey, here's an idea. Mm-hmm. I think the vast majority of the time that normal humans just come up with one idea out of nowhere, it's not the best version of it. Mm-hmm. So what that did was say, okay, we decided we're going to pick this product, the solar panel. We're going to pick that product. It made you look deeper than it made you go through the exercise of looking deeper into that idea.
Absolutely.
And I think that's the most valuable part about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because that takes no ability or no intelligence to just sit out here and just spout off random ideas all day long until the cows come home. The people that do great things are the ones that say, I think this solar panel thing is an idea, and I'm going to see it through to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And you did it in a simulated environment.
Mm-hmm.
And same with us, and like same with all the business classes that do that all around the country. It just is like their first experience having to dig into an idea that they came up with, which I don't think you have to do. I don't think you have to do like before or much after, unless you really try to.
Absolutely, and I totally agree with you. And I'm sure you kind of had the same experience where when you first thought of the idea, you kind of have like an inkling of what might be some problem areas, and then really when you actually like did the work on the project and did some research, you kind of realized you realize that there's problems in your idea that you didn't even realize, as far as, I thought for solar panel example where I thought it was a great idea, but like kind of doing some more research into solar panels, you're like, well, I realized that, well, solar panels are great, but they have to be like pointed directly at the sun, and the sun moves all day. And if you have this thing on a car, you're changing directions all day. So like, if you want,
it has to have like a swivel head that knows where
exactly.
the sun is.
Yep, exactly. If you want this thing to work great, then you have to like have some kind of like swivel pad under the solar panel on your car that like senses the sun and like adjusts to it as well, or even the efficiency of like the current technology of a solar panel, where how long it has to sit in front of the sun at the perfect angle for it to generate X amount of energy. And when you put it on top of a car, that it's not really at the optimal angle, and you're not really it'll charge, but like it's not enough to like make a difference.
Yeah, and then if you're not like if it's just sitting there parked and it's not burning any energy, then you have to store the energy that you're generating then too, and then you have to get into big ass batteries, and then there's like two technologies that play there, and they're kind of both in their pretty infancy. So like in like 25 years, when batteries get better and smaller, and when solar panels get better and smaller, more efficient, that could be there. Doesn't Tesla do that? Doesn't Tesla have something like that on there?
Yeah, Teslas, they currently have it's like an optional extra, I believe you can get on a Tesla, where it's like a copper colored roof, and it does the exact same thing of like the product I was developing, where it takes solar rays and then it generates electricity for the car. Yep, and actually like BMW has done the same thing a while ago, where they had a solar panel on their roof, but instead of charging the car, what it did was it was meant to power the electronics like in the cabin of the car. So like the overhead lights in like the middle of your car, like that's what the solar panel charged, or like
powered.
Or like the cigarette outlets if you want to charge your phone. Like that's
or like the radio.
Or like the radio, kind of like the smaller electronic things in your car. Like that's what it was used for.
Yeah, I've heard about that too. Cool. So, we said you just graduated. I'm sure you have been asked this question plenty of times. What is it like to finish your senior year of college and graduate from college during the biggest pandemic in 100 years?
So so we'll go back to like February, or like kind of February when it went from being just kind of a where the world's kind of learning about this thing and it's starting to spread. And I guess I first where I started to be affected was spring break. So let's call it mid-March. And I had a job and I was working, and for a couple days at work, like all the managers and the bosses were kind of getting together and having meetings all day, and something was going. They were talking about something, and one day I go into work and they lay off our entire business development, like the call center. So I was like,
Oh,
oh shit,
yeah.
well, I'm out of a job now, which is which sucked at the time. And then it was right on spring break when this happened, so we didn't even have class. But in the following days, we get emails from our chancellor and our head of departments, whatever, saying that we're going to be extending spring break for a few days due to the current events, because we kind of got to figure out how we're going to adjust to this, because it's kind of right when we started social distancing and quarantining started to become the idea. And so what really happened was the second half of our semester was completely online, where it was completely online, where you didn't sit in a classroom at all. Everything was done through a Zoom meeting on our computers, where you just sit at home and sit in the classroom. And that's kind of how we finished off our senior year. Was you have all these classes, but all your professors have to adjust to doing this online now, and that was just kind of the new reality of it. And it was a huge bummer, because it was second semester senior year, and we were all kind of in class together, and you're kind of in like the final. That's like second semester senior year. That's like your final group of classes, and in like my business class, I had 3 business classes, and there was kids that I had in all 3 classes. So we'd go from one class to the next, and we were all kind of in the same boat. We're like, oh, we're all graduating. So like, and that was the semester I really got to know all of my classmates, where I was starting to kind of like develop these relationships with them, and oh, how'd you do in that test, or whatever, collaborating on assignments, whatever. So that was the biggest thing I realized, was like all these relationships that I was building were kind of cut off in a way where I'm not going to see any of these people in the day-to-day life anymore. So that was kind of like the biggest bummer, was that I don't get to see these people anymore, and we like follow each other like on social media, so like we're like connected still, but that's not the same as like being face to face with people. And it was kind of, so part of everything moving online was there were some professors where they were like, oh, I've taught many classes online before, so this is going to be a piece of cake. Just give me a couple days and we'll have everything moved online and it'll be fine. We'll be back to normal. But there was a couple other professors where they were older, and they had like no idea how technology works, where you get the emails from them and they're like, oh, well, I haven't really figured out how to move this class online yet, so everyone just kind of hold tight until I figure out what we're going to do for the rest of the semester as far as like assignments and tests go. So with everything moving online, a lot of the classes we were just able to like kind of just keep normal. We'd still have class, but it's just all taught online now. But some classes, like, it was kind of nice being a senior second semester, because I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I realize that I just have to pass all my classes and I will be fine. But so like if senior slide was like a thing, it really like amplified that, because now that everything's online and I'm doing everything from home, like, man, like if there was an incentive to kind of do it the easiest way possible, then that was kind of even amplified with the doing everything online. I
couldn't imagine trying to stay motivated for those classes. I mean, I actually made the dean's list somehow accidentally both semesters my senior year, but it was because I was finding classes I knew what I was doing, because it was marketing stuff. But at the end of that, I had a job accepted in February of my senior year, so I would only go in because I liked the people in there, like the teachers, felt like I owed a level of respect to the teachers to go in and listen to them do their jobs. But man, I couldn't imagine trying to stay motivated if I didn't have to go in. Like if it was just like be on a Zoom call, do something. Like,
Mhm.
man,
Yep.
that would not have worked for me.
I've always been a good student doing my work, so doing the classwork wasn't a big deal. And like you said, you're a senior at this point. You kind of realize how the game is played and how your professors want work, and it was kind of so you're able to kind of do things easier. But there was definitely a couple classes and assignments where I was like, who cares? Just turn it in. It's fine. Turning this in halfway done is better than no way done.
Yeah.
Like not at all. You know?
Yeah.
But it was definitely weird. And another thing about we had to do a online graduation.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna ask about that.
Yep. So all this through the 4 years, you kind of build up all this like anticipation for like the graduation ceremony, and like it's great, and my family's gonna be there, and it's gonna be awesome because they're gonna see me walk across stage and shake whoever's hand and get my diploma. Sweet, but that all got canceled with the coronavirus going on. So we so instead of like having a in-person graduation down at Amsoil Arena where the UMD Bulldogs play for hockey, they decided to do like a virtual graduation, so which was a bummer. So like, okay, well, and it was going to be on my dad's birthday actually too, so I was like,
oh, that would have been perfect.
Yeah, it would have been a perfect little graduation present for my dad, like, oh yeah, your son graduates college, it's awesome, but
yeah, that's great.
But that got taken away, which was a huge bummer. And I was really disappointed because we heard that it was going to be like a virtual graduation, and I was expecting some kind of like me and my friends were expecting some kind of like live stream event that they would do for like the graduation where they'd like reads everyone's name or anything. But what they ended up doing was they recorded like 4 videos, and probably like a total content worth of like 45 minutes. And then it was like the chancellor talking and a couple other people talking, and it was just like a YouTube video they posted, an unlisted YouTube video they posted, and you just like got a link to it and you would just go watch the videos, and that was kind of our graduation ceremony. And
where was the reader sitting or standing?
They were standing on campus, kind of in one of like the courtyard areas where you would just sit there and talk in a microphone. Our chancellor would sit there and talk. It was just kind of disappointing.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Yeah.
Because it just like read like the fourth of names that are near Osterbauer, and that was it.
Oh, they didn't even like read anyone's name off or anything. So like what they did for that was
what were they talking about for 45 minutes?
It was just like, oh, obviously this isn't it was kind of like, oh, we've never seen anything like this before, and this is not how we'd wish you guys were graduating into the year, but this is kind of how it is, and we want to thank all of our seniors for all their hard work, and whatever kind of like motivational speech for the seniors there to go into their next phase of your life. And that was kind of the speeches they gave, or how you gotta work hard or whatever.
do good with your degree now that you have it, and blah blah blah.
Be thankful for what happened, and you worked hard for this, be proud of it, and the real work begins now, kind of speech, whatever. So what they did for everyone's name was you had to you got like sent an email, and you had to like go and like fill out a little registration of like, oh, I'm graduating with this degree, and you gotta send in a picture. Here's a picture, and how do you pronounce your name? When they read it off, and like under all the videos on the page was they had everyone's name listed, so you could like search your name, and they had like a pre-recorded name. They would pre-record reading your name, and you could click on it, and it would say, oh, so and so graduated with this. But they didn't even pronounce my name right in that. They said,
what did they do?
So my name is Joe Osterbauer, but they said Joe Osterbauer.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. So like
UMD, figure it the fuck out.
Yep. Right in front of my grandparents. 86 years old, and they got to hear Osterbauer on the graduation. Like, disrespectful. Come on.
how hard would it be to just put up a fucking phone on a tripod in that same setup and live stream a YouTube thing? And just like maybe well, UMD normally does like 2 graduations, right? Because it's a big school.
Yeah, they usually have like a fall and like a fall and a spring semester.
No, I think in the spring they had 2 different days because it's so big.
Not UMD. Maybe U of M Twin Cities.
Well, either way, pick like you could do multiple streams if you don't want to read however many names at one time. But how hard would it be to do a freaking YouTube live stream and say like 2020 UMD graduation ceremony, and you have the same keynote speaker that you normally have your chancellors, have your professors talk. We had a Native American. Yeah, valedictorian. They can speak because it's not that many people. You could stay safe with that. And then just read through the names. Like, I know it sounds kind of lame, but like it's closer to the real thing, and you get that pride out of like hearing your name called on live time in front of anybody that's viewing it.
And it wasn't even a person saying my name. It was like a robotic force saying.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, it's like
that's the worst.
Yeah, it was just.
That's not cool.
It was a shit show.
Did you hear about? Did you hear any of the ways that any other schools did it? Was it similar to that?
I haven't heard how any of their students did it, but
neither have I.
But that was kind of part of it where, we had like a viewing party at my house for it. You know, I invited my grandparents over and my family and a couple other people, whatever. But I'm searching online and I find these like 4 videos for it, and I'm like thinking in the back of my head, like I'm thinking they have like a live stream or something. I'm like, there's got to be am I missing like the live stream right now? Like, am I missing the main event? You know, and then I couldn't find it, and then afterwards I like was talking to some of my friends, and they're like, yeah, we had the same thought. Like we thought there was some kind of live stream too, but I guess it was just those videos. So I guess I didn't miss out on anything, but we were all very disappointed of how our college graduation was handled, which kind of sucks. But I guess it's in the past now, so whatever.
Yeah, you have the piece of paper
at this point. Yeah.
Yeah, even though like I certainly dreaded the ceremony, but it's not really for us. It's for our parents and it's for our grandparents because they feel really proud about it. Because probably in our generation, it's like almost more weird if you didn't go to college and graduate. Where certainly in our grandparents' generation, and then some in our parents' generation, not everyone went to college. So it's like a pretty big deal for them.
Yeah, I kind of feel like our parents graduated in 1980, you know, and back then it was kind of the standard to graduate from high school, and then if you went to college, that was kind of like extra. That was kind of like extra credit almost. Where I kind of feel like currently in 2020, where going to high school and then going to college is kind of the standard. Yeah, you know, so there's that kind of extra. In that 40 years, like going to college has kind of become the new standard education.
Yeah, for sure. If you don't, it's a
and
lot
it's not
harder.
For everyone. Yeah, you know, I'm not saying that if you don't go to college, you're dumb or anything like that. But it's you know,
it's just way more popular now.
It's kind of the more standard when you like apply for a job or something. I feel where it's kind of that. It shows like another level of commitment that you were able to commit to. Commit 4 years to something. Even though and invest time and money. Yeah. A lot of money.
Yeah, a lot of money. There's a lot of people arguing for the idea that because college education has become the prices have become so inflated that the return on investment for that isn't just not there anymore. Where since it is so common for everyone to have degrees, you may not get a job in your field, and if you do, it may not. The price may be so high that it could take years to pay it back. Especially depending on your major. Like marketing, we don't have an issue with that, but there's a lot of majors that don't really have jobs behind them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a good point because kind of go back to the example we just used where back in like 1980, if you had a college degree, like that sets you apart from everyone else applying for the same job.
Yeah.
Whereas today, everyone applying for that job may have the same degree as you or college education. So getting a college education that doesn't set you apart, or that doesn't really get you ahead as much as it may have years ago.
Yeah, now in a lot of fields you need like master's degrees and extra degrees and stuff just to create the kind of same separation that you got with a regular bachelor's degree not that long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And again, business, I don't think there is that as much because you can go in, like, I mean, all you need is that first job. You just need to convince someone I can do this first job.
Yep.
And the way I did it was I told the guy that hired me, I want to do business to business sales for my career. And that put me apart from other candidates who may have had better GPAs, better degree, bigger college degrees.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, I know what I want to do, and I know this is it.
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to get that first one. And then once you get into the first one, then nobody gives a fuck about your GPA or your degree.
Absolutely.
Like besides like a talking point of like, oh, I went here, I went there. Like, oh, cool, I visited there.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares. Then it's just you do your job and the best one to do your job. Then it's like you can get out of what I felt it was getting out of the shadow of a dumber me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so yeah, you just got to get that first one. And in business, you just got to convince one person to give you that first one. And then then it's okay after that.
Yep, and I totally agree. Like, so when I was in school, I worked at a car dealership up in Duluth, and it was a sales job, and I worked at a sales job for about a year. But you're totally right. Where you got to convince someone that's willing to take a chance on you, where you can just kind of cut your teeth and really learn that. The very basics of selling and business, where you kind of realize that how the process works, and I think I learned more working in that job. It was very beneficial for me to go to school and then after school go work at the car dealership and learn and kind of put into practice what I just learned in the classroom as far as like selling or marketing and whatever into and like how it works in the real world. And that kind of first year of experience, I feel like working at the car dealership, I feel like I learned more about marketing and sales and how to talk to people and present product and talk to them and find out what they need more than I did in school. So I think that was a very valuable time that I spent learning business.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't. Yeah, it's not like really take a chance though, because you're certainly intelligent enough for a whole lot of jobs, and you're certainly qualified enough. It's the having your degree in hand is just kind of that. It's almost a certification of like you can get your driver's license. That means you're certified to operate a vehicle. You can get certified in. I just realized my sister is certified in Salesforce. I didn't realize that was a thing you could do in college. So she can show maybe a physical certificate or a virtual one off and say, I am proficient at operating Salesforce. Your degree is just the same thing of saying I'm proficient at, for us, marketing concepts, business concepts, sales concepts, communication concepts. And it's just kind of that base. Now it's a base level certification saying, I at least know a little bit about these things. They still know, in the grand scheme of things, you don't know shit because you're a college graduate, but you don't know shit, and neither does any of the other applicants. So there's numerous ways to prove that you know the information, and a college degree is one of them. And it is a very coming and a good one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. Let's see here. We're past an hour, Joe. Just like that. Let's wrap this up because we got some friends outside. So Joe, I've been wrapping up. This has been great talking about. I've been out of college for 4 years, I think, almost 4 years. So I just haven't really. I don't really have any like friends that are still doing it. A couple of them are like ending like grad school stuff, law school, but that's different because you're like more like an adult then.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been good. I haven't been able to like talk Duluth in a while. I miss Duluth greatly being out here. But yeah, so what I've been doing with these episodes lately, all the episodes that I've done during COVID stuff is share like a little tip for the listeners to do to keep them from being bored, whether that's like I've been talking about the books I've been reading. Last week, Haley said she's been doing puzzles.
Mm-hmm.
Give a little, like, whether it's a health tip or a mental tip to listeners of, like, what you've been doing to stay sane during this.
Definitely. Yeah. I definitely I've taken this time. I've realized that with this going on, people are at home a lot more. And personally, I've had a lot more me time and personal time. And with it, I've felt that it's a great time to invest in yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And a way I've been doing this is reading. So what I've been doing is making it a habit of, every day to just take a chunk at a time, whether it's 20 minutes or if I'm lucky, I can commit an hour to it where I'm just sit down and read a book.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been reading more about like autobiographies or like business books. One book I got to finish was the Arnold Schwarzenegger autobiography. And
Doesn't that have a cool name? What's it called?
Total Recall. It's
really?
called.
I
Yep.
thought it was like something about pumping iron.
He has multiple books,
Oh.
and that's one of his books about like that's Pumping Iron is one of his books about bodybuilding. But Total Recall is more about how he started out as being a boy growing up in Austria and becoming like a soldier in the Austrian army, but he discovered his love for bodybuilding and started competing in Austria, being a bodybuilder, and then he had this dream of moving to America, and he had this opportunity to. So it kind of tells the story about moving to America as a Austrian immigrant and learning English and becoming a professional bodybuilder, and then moving on to movie star, and then eventually a politician, and kind of showing his journey. But anyway, it just kind of. It shows that you can kind of do whatever you want if you put your mind to it because you're so dedicated to what he was doing.
Yeah, sure.
But other books I've been reading, other books I've just been kind of reading about are the Eagles, Don Felder, the guitarist, kind of what it's like being a rock star.
Oh, that'd be cool.
That was a cool book too. I did that on audiobook actually. So that's kind of one thing is another part of back to how I spend my time in this COVID era, going for just spending a lot more time outside because I've kind of had time to kind of slow down a little bit and kind of plan my day out a little more.
Mm-hmm.
So part of it, what I would do is go spend some time outside, and I'd go for like when I was living in Duluth, they have the Munger Trail, which is a nice. I want to say it's probably like 120 miles long. It runs all the way from like Duluth all the way down to Hinckley, which is like an hour drive going 80 miles an hour. So that's a big, long trail. So what I would do is go for a nice rollerblade ride and pop in my headphones and put on an audiobook and just kind of rollerblade for an hour or two and just kind of do some learning and listening. So that's one thing I've been doing as well.
Yeah, awesome. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you want, you can take Crushing It right now. Do you have any interest in reading Gary V's Crushing It?
Yeah, I'll check it out.
Or Super Freakonomics is another good business book I have up there.
I've read the first Freakonomics book, but I don't think I've gotten into the second one yet.
Yeah, so it's the same idea of just like really weird economical stories.
Yeah,
and like
I'll probably do that
things
one
happen.
before this one.
Yeah, but yeah, for sure.
We'll deal with that later.
Yeah,
but.
we'll do that later. Yeah, cool. So, Joe, thanks for coming on. Thanks for chatting about school and graduating in a pandemic.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's
been fun talking.
For sure. It's definitely a bummer you didn't get to have your ceremony, but you will never forget the way your graduation was and the world that you graduated in, and that's something that sets you and the people that graduated with you apart from every generation, every grade, except for the people in like 1920. So that's something very special about your grade, and something that I'm sure everyone will ask you in years to come.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, so that's an episode, everyone. Go read a book, go rollerblade, find an audiobook.
Yep, go outside and experience some nature and get some fresh air.
And drink some Snake River Brewing beer.
Yes, I recommend the Hazy IPA.
Yeah, Earned It. Earned It IPA. It's one of my favorites. It's Joe's favorite.
Yep.
We love it. We love Snake River. And go to the brew pub. It's fully open. You have to see a host to get seated, but they're fully open. Outside, inside, menu. We thought we had the wings today. We had buffalo cauliflower that was delicious. Beer delicious. They're great. They're a great partner of mine. So yeah, that's an episode, everyone. Have a good week.
Thank you.